Story 1. My mom accused me of being ungrateful and cut me off, all because I supported my dad when he needed me most, but now that he's no longer with us, my mom is trying to claw her way back into my life. I'm 35 meters, and my parents divorced when I was 17. My dad struggled with addiction, and my mom eventually left him, which I completely understood and supported. Living with him was impossible. While he wasn't violent, he was verbally horrible and spent all our money on his habits. That was the final straw for my mom. After the divorce, my dad spiraled. He nearly OD'd and ended up in the ICU. At the time, I was living with my mom, but I was scared my dad might not make it, so I moved back with him and my uncle's family. My mom was disappointed, but she let me make my own choice. Losing my mom, most of his friends, going broke, and nearly meeting his end finally got through to my dad, and he promised to get better for me. It was hard to watch, but he actually turned things around. My uncle paid for everything: rehab, therapy, medical bills, and after about 5 years, my dad was clean and somewhat healthy again. He even apologized to my mom, and she forgave him, though she later told me it was only for my sake so they could be civil at events like my graduation or wedding. Over those years, I kept in regular contact with my mom and met with her often. She had moved on and met a great guy, who she eventually married. She was much happier, and I was happy for her. I thought we had a pretty good relationship. That changed when I was 23. My mom asked me to come over, and she told me she was still angry and disappointed that I had chosen my dad over her after the divorce. She said I was ungrateful for everything she had gone through, putting up with my dad's behavior, and then hit me with something that still pisses me off today. She told me she could see me becoming a drink and pill addict like my dad because I stayed close to him. I don't drink or take anything to this day, so I had no idea where that even came from. I was floored. I thought we had moved past all that, but apparently, she had been harboring resentment for years. Then, she said she wanted to go no contact with me because being around me brought back too many bad memories of my dad. She said she had found peace and happiness, and I was a reminder of all the pain she'd been through. I didn't know what to say except, okay. I later found out from a cousin on her side that her whole family was pissed at me for staying with my dad, and they all went no contact with me for her sake, saying I had betrayed her. I haven't seen or heard from my mom since that day. Fast forward to now, my dad passed away 2 years ago from a heart attack, a result of his years of addiction, despite being clean for over a decade. He still had lingering health issues. I recently got married, and my wife posted some pictures from the wedding on Facebook. My wife said a woman claiming to be a cousin contacted her. I looked at the message, and it was a cousin from my mom's side, asking if it was really me in the pictures, using my full name. I told my wife to ignore it, but later that same day, I got a call from my uncle. For context, the house where my uncle lives now is where I grew up with my parents. My uncle said my mom had shown up at his house, asking him to arrange a meeting between us, saying she wants to apologize to me face to face. He told me he could set it up if I wanted. Honestly, after all these years, I feel nothing for her except maybe slight resentment for thinking I would turn out like an addict. I was going to say no right away, but my wife thinks that's a harsh thing to do and that I should at least hear her out, let her apologize, and then go back to never seeing her again if I want. She says that despite what my mom did, she did shield me from most of my dad's addictions growing up. Now I'm having second thoughts. Would I be wrong if I refused to meet her? Relevant comments. Comment 1. No, you wouldn't be wrong. You have to go with your gut. It has been 10 years, and she's realized you didn't become an addict and have created a happy life. You're married, which means there could be grandkids in the future. Are you happy without her? If you've moved on without that side of the family and have created your own happy family, why rock the boat? Your wife may not be able to let it go, though, and if you turn your mother down, you're going to have a lot of people contacting you and your wife to tell you how cruel you're being. I couldn't deal with that personally. I don't do drama. She made a choice, and you've respected it. I'd say no and be ready to block her if needed. Comment 2. I wouldn't say you're wrong. But I wonder if you're an only child. She might be thinking that since you got married, you could be having kids, and she wants to be a grandmother. You have to consider what her ulterior motive might be. Response. One of my reasonings is also this. She never cared before that cousin probably told her about the wedding pictures. Comment 3. I agree with everything except your take on the wife's attitude. I think she's pushing her own feelings, not supporting him with his. He doesn't owe his mother hearing her out just so she feels less guilty. Response. My wife is just looking out for me so that I don't have any regrets. I know she will fully support me if I say I do not want to meet her. Update. I didn't expect the number of comments I got on the first post. Thank you to everyone who weighed in, whether you agreed with me or not. There were so many different perspectives, and I've taken time to think about everything. First, I want to address something. A few of you said I abandoned my mom when I went to live with my dad. Looking back, I can see how it seems that way, but I never felt I abandoned her. I loved my mom dearly, and I loved my dad too. When she told me she was divorcing my dad, I helped her pack and left with her because, at the time, I thought my dad was a lost cause. I went back about 7 months after the divorce when my dad was fighting for his life. That was when he promised me he would change and get help. I chose to stay with my dad after getting permission from my mom. As I mentioned in my first post, she was disappointed but agreed that my dad needed me. Even after I moved back with my dad and uncle, I stayed in contact with her. My mom and dad lived about 20 minutes apart, and I made sure to see my mom regularly, 4 to 5 times a week at least. We talked every day, went on trips, had meals together, and spent time with each other as much as we could. When she moved in with her new husband, John, she always included me in her new family's life, and John was good to me too. During all that time, she never showed any signs of resentment or anger about my relationship with my dad. She blindsided me with the decision to go no contact. I was completely shocked. After she cut me off, I tried for a couple of years to reconnect but eventually gave up when I moved out of the city. Now, for the update. Many of you suggested meeting her for closure, while others said not to bother. After thinking it over, I decided I would meet her and planned to ask my uncle to set it up. However, before I could tell him, my uncle called me again, 3 days after my mom showed up at his house. He said she had come by again and left a letter for me, apologizing for bothering him and saying she wouldn't come by again. She explained she didn't want to raise my hopes unnecessarily and hoped I would understand after reading the letter. My uncle said she seemed very sincere. I asked my uncle to send me pictures of the letter. It wasn't that long, so I'll summarize the important bits. The letter was a mix of apologies and well wishes. She wrote that she was sorry for how she treated me back then, especially for saying I'd turn out like my dad. She explained she had been going through some relationship issues with John, and seeing my dad getting better made her feel bitter because he had never tried for her. She thought her second marriage was failing and felt everyone around her was happy while she was miserable. She admitted to listening to bad advice and regretted taking her anger out on me when she should have sought help. She also wrote that she made up lies to her side of the family to get them to side with her, though she didn't specify what those lies were. She mentioned she got help a couple of years after going no contact but was too ashamed to reach out to me. After seeing the wedding pictures, she was happy for me and wished me the best. She originally wanted to meet but, upon reflection and with her family's advice, realized it was selfish and for her own sake. She apologized again, saying it's better for both of us to keep things as they are. She ended the letter by saying she's happy now, doesn't want to drag up the past, and apologized once more, asking me not to contact her. She wished me and my wife well. So, there's that. Honestly, it's probably the best outcome, and I'm at peace with it. I'm happy with my life, and I'm glad my mom is happy with hers. As she requested, I won't contact her, but I will keep the door open if she wants to meet in the future. I also realized how foolish it was for me to hold on to resentment over her comment about me becoming an addict. I also want to address the comment saying my wife was overstepping. My wife knows all about my past and my mom. She's a kind soul who sees the best in people. She was just looking out for me, wanting me to have no regrets. She did apologize for saying it would be a bad move not to meet my mom, but it's all good. We both respect each other's boundaries and communicate well. Right now, we're planning our honeymoon, and life is good. Thanks for all the supportive messages and comments. I truly appreciated it. Bye. Story 2.
My superhero brother protected my siblings and I from our parents, but sacrificed his childhood so that we could feel safe at home. My siblings and I grew up in a highly toxic environment. Besides my older brother, I have 2 younger siblings, a younger brother and a younger sister. Our parents were addicted to drinking. They would drink every day, and it was like a forced round of Russian roulette. Either we got lucky, and they just argued downstairs with each other, or they would come upstairs to release their anger in our direction. When they did, my older brother would stand guard at the stairs to make sure we were safe. He would try to focus their anger on himself, so whenever they came upstairs, he would receive the punishment. If they tried to enter any of our rooms, he would provoke them so they would focus on him until they were too tired to aim anything at us. While he protected us from them, he sacrificed his own childhood. Instead of doing things he enjoyed, he educated himself and learned programming every single day. He knew that something in IT or programming would get him a high-paying job. His goal was to escape and take us with him. My mom gave her those. After my brother left, we had to endure our parents, but at least we didn't have to wait long. When our parents were arrested, we started living with my brother. He had to do a bit more to ensure my younger siblings could live with us too, but somehow, he convinced the authorities to let them stay. I will never understand where he found the energy to do all this. I was still underage when we began living with him, but in his new job, he made enough money to ensure we were taken care of, finally giving us the loving and caring home we had craved for so long. I adore him so much. He was selfless, always prioritizing us over himself. Yesterday, something happened that made me want to share his story. When I woke up, I went to get some breakfast, and as I passed my brother's door, I heard him crying in his room. I knocked and went inside, and the moment he saw me, he wiped away his tears and smiled. He asked if I was okay. I didn't feel the need to answer, I just hugged him. I felt so sorry for him. He sacrificed everything to keep us safe. He couldn't hold in his tears any longer, and I told him that he should probably go to therapy because what he went through would be too much for anyone to handle. I adore him so much, and I will forever be grateful for every sacrifice he made for us. He didn't deserve any of the things our parents put him through. None of us deserved what our parents did. They were supposed to be a safe space for us, but instead, they caused us harm. I will help my brother, and I will make sure he feels loved too. He deserves to have a safe space. He has always wanted to be ours, so I want to be his. Relevant comment. Your brother is a goddamn superhero. I rarely cry while hearing a story, but this was amazing, and I got a bit misty-eyed, not gonna lie. That man deserves every bit of happiness he's craved over the years. Now that his goal is almost complete, I'm assuming your younger siblings don't have much longer before they graduate high school. He is going to need support to finally live his own life. I say, when you get the chance, treat him to some sort of childish adventure, something that will allow him to experience a bit of the childhood he missed out on before he gets too old to really enjoy it. Response. I actually thought about doing this. His birthday is in a month, and I've been thinking about giving him a bit of the childhood he never had. Update. My post is 3 months old now, but I thought I'd give you an update in case you're interested. In the last 3 months, I got a job and started earning money myself. I wanted to take some of the weight off his shoulders, so I've been taking care of many things so he doesn't have to. After everything he's been through, he deserves a break. I'm trying to make sure he learns to take care of his mental health, which is still in bad shape after everything that's happened. I honestly underestimated how bad it was, and still is. I think the shield he built to protect himself during all those years of trauma is starting to crumble. Now that it's down, all the emotions and pain he held back are coming to the surface, leading to frequent emotional breakdowns. He's aware of it and tries to control it, but it doesn't always work. He's in therapy, but it will take time for him to feel better. My younger siblings and I were traumatized too, but at least we were kept safe enough by him to express and release our emotions. He never had that safe space. He had to bottle everything up. It's a good thing he now has us as his safe space, but I just don't know if it's enough. He is the most important person in our lives, and will always be there for him. We make sure every day that he knows he's loved. I mentioned in my previous post that his birthday was in a month. On that day, we got him a cake and some presents. We celebrated with him, and it was wonderful. I know I probably talked too much about him, but I feel so bad that everything that traumatized him happened because he was protecting us. I can't stop feeling guilty, and I wish I had interfered sooner. He reassured me that it's not my fault, and I know that, but it's hard to explain. It's like walking across a street, not paying attention, and someone pushes you out of the way of an oncoming car. But that person loses their legs in the process, and you can't stop feeling guilty because you know they probably wouldn't have been hurt if you had just been more careful. That's how I feel. All I know is that I'll be there for him. It's the least I can do. Thanks for listening.
Story 3. I proposed to my loving girlfriend and thought that I knew her, but when she invited her inner circle round, her behaviors changed, and I developed the ick. I, 32 meters, recently proposed to my girlfriend of 2 years, Sharon, 30 feet, about a month and a half ago. It feels like the moment the ring went on her finger, her attitude and behavior took a complete 180. Throughout our relationship, we seemed exceptionally compatible, and it felt like we shared common beliefs and morals. 7 weeks ago, I proposed, she said yes, and I thought it was the happiest moment for both of us. But within a week, her attitude seemed to flip completely. I thought I knew all her friends, but one day I came home to find 6 women I'd never seen before. Sharon introduced me to them, and I was curious why I was only meeting them now, considering I met Sharon's 2 best friends, Michelle and Octavia, who weren't there, over a year and a half ago. Sharon said she wanted to be sure we were a sure thing before introducing me to her inner circle. I found this strange, especially since it was a weeknight, and they were quickly emptying my wine rack. Sharon still had her own place but stayed with me so often that she practically lived here. Despite that, I found it incredibly rude when they left, leaving behind 4 empty bottles of rosé. I tried to talk to Sharon about having uninvited guests on weeknights, but she dismissed my concerns flippantly and brushed me off. In the following weeks, she went out with the girls several times, and when she brought them to my place, twice without notice and once with notice to appease me, her words, they all treated me like a butler, shaking their empty wine glasses at me for refills. After the 4th time, I made it clear I'd be getting a locked wine rack. Sharon just called me no fun after that. Then, things got worse. Sharon decided we got off on the wrong foot and suggested we all have dinner together at a nice restaurant. I went, but it was awful. The six of them kept grilling me about my life, my house, my career, but deflected every question I asked them. Things got especially bad when they started discussing modern relationships and jealousy. One of them brought up key points about relationships that I thought Sharon and I had already agreed on, like polyamory and being friends with exes. To my shock, Sharon said we shouldn't be too hasty in making decisions, which was a complete 180 from her views just a month ago when she was firmly against keeping ex-partners as friends and was staunchly monogamous. The worst part was when the bill arrived. Sharon announced it should be split and slid me the check. I told her she couldn't be serious, and we got into a bit of an argument. I ended it by putting down cash for my portion and walked out, leaving them to figure out the rest. In the days after, Sharon kept calling me toxic and fragile, but every time I pushed back, she'd apologize and say she was just stressed at work. Things got even crazier this Monday when I was at work. I got a Nest doorbell alert, checked, and saw Sharon and one of her 6 new friends arriving at my place, going in, and leaving with my golf clubs. This set was a gift from my father and cost a pretty penny, so Sharon lending it out without my permission really pissed me off. I immediately called her and demanded she and her friend return the clubs. Sharon tried to gaslight me by saying, "But you promised to lend the clubs to her boyfriend, remember?" I told her the value of the clubs made this a serious issue, and she and her friend had an hour to return them, or I'd call the cops. Sharon kept insisting I'd given permission, but I told her to stop. Less than 45 minutes later, I got another notification showing Sharon and her friend returning the clubs, and as they left, her friend flipped off the Nest doorbell. When I got home, I saw they had just thrown the clubs on the living room floor. Sharon tried to talk to me again about my toxicity, but I wasn't having it. I told her if I had known this was how she'd act, I never would have proposed. That freaked her out, and she insisted again that it was just stress from work, but I wasn't buying it anymore. I told her to return the ring and her key, and we'd talk about our relationship this weekend. She cried and begged me not to cancel the engagement, insisting it was just stress. I repeated that we'd talk on the weekend. She finally relented. After she left, I had the locks changed, just to be safe. Sharon has been texting me constantly with messages of love and apologies, insisting she just wanted to show me off to her close friends. I don't know, but I'm not buying it. Her close friends have been sending me daily texts, calling me toxic and fragile, saying they knew I wasn't man enough for Sharon or secure enough to share her with friends. A few of my friends who've known Sharon the entire 2 years we were dating are surprised and can't believe she changed so quickly. They think there must be something I'm leaving out or something that triggered her friends to act this way, and that I must have been the asshat at some point. I don't know, it's a lot to process from all directions right now. What do you think? Relevant comments. Comment 1. I bet he hasn't seen Octavia and Michelle anymore. They did their part, and now the ex is too stressed from work to meet her friends. Response. I did message Michelle on Facebook last night. I asked her about the 6, and she told me that she, Octavia, and Sharon are cousins and grew up together. Michelle said she didn't care for the 6, but didn't say much else. Comment 2. Your friends are idiots if they think you triggered this. Nobody normal comes to someone's house uninvited and drinks their wine without permission. That alone is a huge no-no, but everything else on top of that? Sharon should have been kicked out long ago. She and her friends were using you, plain and simple. Response. Again, they've known Sharon for 2 years, and during that time, Sharon didn't act like this at all. I'll give them some leeway for now. Update. Sharon's been gone for about an hour. The breakup is official, and I have the ring back. I spoke with Michelle on Facebook again, and she confirmed that she, Sharon, and Octavia are cousins. Michelle also mentioned she knew the 6 but didn't care for them. She didn't say much beyond that. I've met Sharon's parents, and they seem to like me, but Michelle and Octavia never came up in conversation. Our finances weren't intertwined, yet, though we had plans to do that later this month, which won't happen now. I invited 3 of our mutual friends, Casey, John, and Mike, to be there when Sharon came by to pick up her things. Sharon seemed surprised to see them, and when I told her they were there for both our sakes, she wanted to phone 3 of the 6 to come over and even things out. I refused, using the golf club incident as the reason. Sharon sat dramatically on the couch and asked if I really wanted to make this public. I asked her directly why she changed so much after the engagement and why she hid the existence of the 6. She repeated that she insulates her inner circle until she's sure about a partner. I called bullcrap, pointing out that I had already met her parents. What could be more inner circle than that? Sharon tried to deflect, but I wasn't having it. I pointed out that her friends had cost me nearly $500 in wine over the last month, and she hadn't offered to reimburse me. I also mentioned how she tried to make me pay for an 8-person dinner without asking me first. She said she wanted to show them what a great guy I was, and that she misjudged me and was disappointed in my attitude. When I brought up the golf clubs, she again tried gaslighting me with, "You totally said it was okay, remember?" Mike chimed in, he knew the clubs were a gift from my dad, and that I was very protective of them. He also called bullcrap. That's when Sharon turned her attention to Mike and John, asking, "Isn't he getting forgetful lately? Don't you remember when he forgot that one date?" Neither of them bought it. I told her that forget postponing the wedding, we'd be canceling the entire relationship if she didn't start being honest. She let out a long, exaggerated sigh, took off the ring, and dropped it on the coffee table. As she left, she said, "You're never going to find someone as good as me," and told me to send her things to her apartment. Casey, John, and Mike were stunned. All I could say was, "Believe me now?" We ordered pizza and are waiting for it to arrive. I'm still shocked and confused by Sharon's attitude. I'm sure the heartbreak will come, but right now, I just feel numb. Thanks for the help. Story 4. I just proposed to my fiancée, but now I'm canceling our wedding, because she cheated on me with a pathetic guy she told me not to worry about. I, 24 meters, recently proposed to my now ex-fiancée, 23 feet, after 2 years of dating. We met through mutual friends at work. We started talking as friends, went on dates, and on New Year's Eve, we officially started dating. Early in our relationship, she mentioned this guy, Marvin. According to her, Marvin has always had a crush on her, and during the first few months of our relationship, he texted her several times asking her to leave me and give him a chance. We used to say how pathetic this guy was and how she despised him for suggesting she would leave me for him. I must clarify, I'm nothing special, I'm a 5 feet 4 inches Asian nerdy guy. Time went by, and after 2 years of dating, I decided to propose to her. So, on New Year's Eve, I gave her the ring, and she said yes in front of her whole family. I had some money saved, she doesn't work, so I started looking for venues, catering, invitations, decor, and everything. I spent a significant amount of money, as her parents were not in a position to help with the expenses, and I had enough savings to comfortably cover it all. One day, while we were running errands, we started talking about inviting a third person into the bedroom. We are in our 20s, so there are a lot of things we want to try. We discussed for a while how we could find someone, and she quickly said, "I have someone in mind." I asked who, and she replied, "Marvin." I know that was the first red flag, but I let it pass. I asked why him, and she simply answered that she was intimately attracted to him. I asked why she would say she hated him at first and then choose him as her first option for a third, and she replied it was only a one-time thing. So I told her it was okay, but we needed to talk later to set rules, limits, and that I would like to talk to him personally before giving the green light. Over the next couple of days, she started acting really excited and kept showing me hotels, asking when we were going to meet with him, and how exciting everything was. I told her we needed to talk about things first, as it's not as easy as it sounds and we need to set some boundaries. After that, she calmed down for a day or two, but then started bringing the subject up again. We reached a point where she insisted so much and brought up the topic so many times that I ended up telling her she either needed to calm down or the threesome wasn't going to happen. She apologized and admitted I was right, but something didn't feel right. That afternoon, we were taking a nap, and while she was sleeping, I went through her phone. I found out that she had been cheating on me with him for a couple of months. They had been meeting while I was working, and she even sent him one of those BDSM tests you can find online to see if his kinks matched hers. To say I was furious is an understatement. She woke up while I was checking her phone, and I confronted her. She started crying, saying she was sorry and didn't know what she was doing. I packed my things and stormed out to stay at a hotel. That night, I got a call from her parents saying I was ruining the engagement and acting like a baby, while claiming I was the one who brought up the idea of a third person and that their daughter wasn't at fault. I hung up without saying anything and started canceling everything I had planned for the wedding. She called me the next day, apologizing and asking me to come back. Her whole family started sending texts asking me to man up, claiming I was at fault, and not to break the engagement. Am I wrong for canceling everything? Any advice is appreciated. Relevant comments. Comment 1. Just tell her family it's their fault they never taught her how to count. How else did she get having a three-way wrong? Comment 2. She probably told her family you brought up a 3 and then got mad at her for picking someone to be the third. She probably didn't mention she had been cheating on you. Send them one text, "She has been cheating on me for months. My decision is final. Stop texting me." Then block them. Update. Hey guys. Thanks for everyone's advice. I appreciate the support and even the mean comments, both perspectives were helpful. Now, let me address just a few things before continuing. My ex stopped working to go to college. We met at work, but she quit once we moved in together. Yes, my now ex-fiancée told her parents we were breaking up because I suggested the third and got mad when she mentioned Marvin, and her parents believed her. Yes, I needed reassurance to make sure I wasn't the one at fault. I've been conditioned all my life to be a doormat, so it's hard to stand up for myself. Here's the update. After seeing all your messages, I reached out to my father-in-law, and we agreed to meet at a nearby mall to talk about why I broke off the engagement. I had a good relationship with him, as we shared the same interests and hobbies, so I figured we could have a conversation. We met, and although he looked mad, he agreed to listen. I had taken screenshots of the conversations my ex-fiancée had with Marvin, and I showed them to him. After looking at everything, he told me my ex had given them a totally different story. According to him, my ex went to them crying, saying I was breaking off the engagement because I wanted to have a third and snapped when she picked Marvin as the third. He also mentioned that Marvin had been checking on my ex since she had been staying with them after we broke up. We went to my apartment and packed all of her belongings to move her out. The ring was at the apartment as well, so I kept it. I'm glad they now know the truth. Thank you for all the help and advice. Relevant comments. Comment 1. As Shakespeare said, all's well that ends well. At least, her family knows the truth now. Comment 2. Cheating and lying go hand in hand. I'm not surprised that she lied to her parents. Good on you for having proof. Comment 3. Glad you got the ring back and got her moved out. Now you need to cut off all contact with her and her family. Move on and meet someone else. Final update. Hey guys, I'm back. I know y'all have been waiting for this update. So after picking my ex's belongings, me and my father-in-law drove to his house. The ride there was awkward to say the least. When we get there we walked in and we saw my mother-in-law, my ex and guess who else? Exactly, Bloody Marvin. They were all at the living room. My ex looked like she had been crying for a while, Marvin was hugging her and my mother-in-law was seated next to her with a box of tissues. My mother-in-law saw me enter and started asking my father-in-law what I was doing there. He responded, we all need to talk about the situation, and he came to clarify some things. We all sat down and Marvin was about to leave the room when my father-in-law said, no, please stay. You're part of this too. Marvin sat down but you could see he was not holding well. His right leg was bouncing and he tried his best not to make eye contact with me or my ex. My father-in-law started saying that I accepted to continue with the engagement, which made my mother-in-law and my ex smile. However, I had one condition. Marvin must show him his WhatsApp conversation with my ex to him. At that moment, I was shocked. I was about to argue, however I understood something. Most likely my ex had deleted the convo with Marvin, but there was a chance Marvin didn't. Marvin tried to protest but my father-in-law insisted and asked him to do this for her daughter. My ex and Marvin glanced at each other and my mother-in-law was quiet looking at my father-in-law. Finally after that Marvin stood up and left without saying anything else. My ex started crying again and my father-in-law told her to shut up. He said I had shown him screenshots of their conversations and he was disappointed to raise a cheating cow. Mother-in-law was in disbelief so I showed her the screenshots too. They both screamed at her, how could she do something like that on top of lying to their faces. At the end my father-in-law went to unload her belongings in the driveway and told her to look for some other place to stay as she wasn't welcome there anymore. Father-in-law apologized to me and told me he would like to keep in touch to make sure I was okay. I came back home after all of that happened feeling empty, no gonna lie. I think it was the adrenaline wearing off. I got one call of my ex but I didn't answer it. I blocked the number and spoke with security at my building to trespass her if she comes by. I posted on FB and Gram about what happened and made sure to post the screenshots of the conversation to make sure she cannot twist the situation with friends and family. I will get most of my money after canceling the venue, catering and other stuff, so I'm planning to move to another state. I got some infection tests done and I'm clean. And I'll be selling the ring to get my money back. So that's the final update. I don't think I will update any more on this, but I want to thank everyone, good and bad comments. Hopefully everything goes better now. Time to move on with my life. Thanks everyone. Relevant comments. Comment 1. You've made the right decision to cancel your wedding after your ex's betrayal. The way your Phil handled the situation is commendable, holding your ex accountable for her actions. It's good to hear you're getting tested and focusing on your well-being. Moving on and starting a new chapter is the best thing you can do for yourself. Comment 2. Yeah, seems like Marvin didn't know how deep he got himself into. It's wild how people can act in such messy situations. At least now you've got clarity on all that chaos. Good luck with everything moving forward. Story 5.
My new coworker snapped at me at a work event for being insensitive, when all I did was express about how being pregnant was a nightmare for me, yet now they're excluding me from future events. A new coworker, Sophie, started 3 months ago. She seems pretty nice, which is why I'm really not sure about all this. At my work, we have a tradition where, once a new employee successfully completes their probation, we go out for a team lunch. Nothing fancy, but something nice to celebrate. Sophie passed her probation, so we went out for lunch. As we're eating, we all started talking, and the topic of the magic of pregnancy and childbirth came up. Everyone was sharing sweet moments from their pregnancies. I joined the conversation enthusiastically but didn't share any of my own experiences. I think Sophie noticed because she specifically turned to me and said, "Sophie, you had twins, didn't you? That must have been a wonderful experience." I smiled and said something along the lines of how I wish my pregnancy and birth had been as positive as theirs. To be clear, it wasn't said sarcastically at all. The truth is, I hated every moment of being pregnant. I could write a long list of all the magical symptoms I had, but I'll just give you the highlights: horrific vivid nightmares, hyperemesis gravidarum, severe morning sickness, debilitating migraines, and a metallic taste in my mouth. And then the birth. Honestly, I feel like anything that could go wrong, but not life-threatening, did go wrong. Worst of all, due to some complications, I ended up being kept in the hospital for a while, so I missed the first few days with my girls. It's safe to say I hated every moment of being pregnant and every moment of labor. It was not a magical experience by any stretch of the imagination. I didn't say any of this to Sophie, I just responded as I mentioned. After my reply, Sophie started getting short with me. Later, I asked her privately what was going on. She snapped and told me that what I said was insensitive, that it undermined their experiences, and called me an a-hole for it. Since then, she's sort of cooled off and is less hostile, or at least less openly hostile, but last week she invited all the girls on the team to a ladies' night, everyone except me. I don't mind so much since ladies' nights aren't really my thing, but the fact that she pointedly excluded me has made things awkward. I feel like I need to do something. I'm not really in the mood for drama. I have enough of that in my life right now. I don't need more, so I haven't confronted her about it yet. And as I said, she is otherwise a really nice person, normally pretty friendly and easygoing. So I'm left wondering if I really was an a-hole. Was what I said insensitive? Did it undermine their experiences? Before I ask her about it, I could use some perspective because I honestly just don't know. Was I wrong for being honest? Relevant comment. Good Lord, you're far from being in the wrong. I would have wondered if she was pregnant with the way she responded. I also had a very miserable pregnancy and a serious life-threatening event, heart failure, so I can't relate to these stories. You weren't being sarcastic, you weren't telling these women they sucked for having positive experiences, and you didn't call them liars. You just shared your experience. She has shown that she's very petty by excluding you from a ladies' night event. All of this would make me very cautious about working on any projects with her. Good luck. Response. It might be. The conversation came up because she was talking about how much she wished she was pregnant again. She has a 2-year-old, and how she misses being pregnant. Could be she is, in fact, pregnant. But if she is, she clearly doesn't know it. Update. Since posting, I have kept my distance from Sophie, as recommended by commenters, which has been tough because our work often overlaps and, we're on the same team. Since then, I've noticed she has snapped at other co-workers as well. I figured that commenters were right, that now her probation was over, the nice girl act was over. Things were awkward. Then, I heard her crying in the bathroom. I didn't want to get involved in case it caused another fight, but I also couldn't just leave her there when there might be a problem, so I told Alex, our team lead, who then went to check on Sophie. A while later, Alex came back and said she had sent Sophie home as she wasn't feeling well. A few days later, Sophie came back to work. She asked to speak to me. Alone. It probably wasn't the best idea, but I agreed, and I'm glad I did. Sophie apologized for how she snapped at me. I asked why she excluded me from ladies' night. She said she didn't invite me because I had mentioned I didn't like them. To be fair, I have a vague memory of this coming up in conversation a while ago. But she had something else to tell me. It turns out, some of you were right. Sophie is pregnant. When she got sent home, her boyfriend asked her to take a pregnancy test because the last time she was pregnant, she got super broody, and her mood was all over the place, happy one minute, bursting into tears the next, then super irritable. As bad as she was at work, she was even worse at home. She took a test, and yep, she's pregnant. She told me she wanted me to be the first person in the office to know about it. I guess it was her way of apologizing? I accepted her apology and chose to believe her about the ladies' night, albeit cautiously. I'm still keeping a slight guard up because, for all I know, this could be some game she's playing, but for now I am choosing to take her at her word. Obviously, her being pregnant doesn't excuse how she spoke to me, but it does explain it. If that genuinely is the issue, then hopefully, the issue is resolved. Thanks for the help, peeps.
Story 6.
My sister started sharing our family's deepest and darkest secrets at work, which was ruining the company's reputation, so I terminated her contract and kicked her out of my company. I, 28 feet, am the founder and CEO of a small tech company that I've poured my heart into over the past 5 years. I'm a girl boss. 6 months ago, my younger sister, 24 feet, lost her job due to downsizing. Despite our rocky relationship, we're polar opposites, I decided to hire her. I'm introverted and value privacy, she's extroverted and often speaks without thinking. Initially, things went smoothly. She brought enthusiasm to the team, and I was hopeful this could strengthen our sisterly bond. However, I began noticing colleagues giving me odd looks and whispering when I wasn't around. During a team lunch, one employee casually mentioned a deeply personal family incident, joking about it as if it were common knowledge. I was stunned. I pulled my sister aside and asked if she'd been sharing personal family stories. She admitted she had, saying it helped her connect with others and that it was no big deal. I stressed that our family's history is private and that discussing it at work was unprofessional. She brushed me off, calling me overly sensitive. A couple of weeks later, I discovered she'd told several employees about our parents' tumultuous divorce and even shared that our mother had struggled with substances, a painful chapter we've worked hard to move past. This wasn't just embarrassing, it felt like a profound betrayal. I confronted her again, but she accused me of trying to control her and said I was letting my CEO status go to my head. Realizing that this was jeopardizing not only my reputation but also the company's culture, I made the difficult decision to terminate her employment for breaching confidentiality and unprofessional conduct. She was furious, accusing me of choosing work over family and vowing never to forgive me. Our parents are now involved and believe I overreacted. They think I should have been more understanding and given her another chance. This whole situation has left me questioning myself. I feel guilty for firing her but also feel that I had to protect my company and personal boundaries. Was this fair of me? Relevant comments. Comment 1. Are you sure your sister lost her previous job to downsizing? Sometimes that is the excuse used to get rid of troublesome employees. Either way, you're not in the wrong. No one can survive the blatant hits to the companies and your reputation and have it end well. Case of FAFO for sure. Comment 2. You didn't choose work over family at all. She chose to divulge personal and private information that could damage your reputation and your company's reputation. You chose to get rid of a problematic employee. Period. And you did give her warning? Comment 3. Exactly this. I got my sister a job at my place of employment. I'm a nurse. I recommended her for a unit secretary job. All her prior experience was working at McDonald's. And they hired her. She did the exact same thing and destroyed the reputation I worked a decade to build. I now haven't spoken to her in a decade, and it was the best decision I ever made to cut her off. She was an absolute boundary stomper. Good job. Update 1. I reached out to a friend who still works at the company where my sister was previously employed. He confirmed that she was indeed fired, but not just because of the downsizing she mentioned. According to him, she had a knack for orchestrating gossip and creating conflicts among coworkers. She would spread rumors and stir up drama, which led to a toxic work environment and decreased team morale. Her behavior was disruptive enough that the company decided to let her go to preserve the integrity and productivity of the workplace. Hearing this from someone who was there really reinforces my decision to terminate her employment at my company. It seems her pattern of behavior has consistently caused problems wherever she goes, and I had to prioritize the well-being of my team. Thank you all for your continued support and understanding as I navigate this difficult situation. Update 2. Hi everyone. I wanted to share an update on the situation with my sister. I recently had a detailed conversation with my parents about the rumors she was spreading at work, especially regarding her substance taking and our parents' divorce. I explained how her behavior was disrupting the workplace and shared the specific complaints from employees who felt uncomfortable. Additionally, I informed them about what a friend who still works at her previous company told me, that she was fired for orchestrating gossip and creating conflict among coworkers. My parents are now very angry with her for sharing our family's private matters and for causing turmoil in my company. They also apologized to me for not recognizing the severity of her actions sooner and for any additional stress this has caused our family. Having their support has been a huge relief and reinforces that I made the right decision to prioritize my business and team. Thank you all for your continued support and understanding during this difficult time. Thanks for all the advice, we got there in the end. Relevant comment. At first I thought everyone sucks here, but after reading the updates, you were not in the wrong. You said she shared about both your parents' divorce and then the mother's substance use. You guys share parents, your trauma with your parents is also hers. So saying she can't talk about it at work is valid because it does make your employees think about you differently, but she does have the right to share that stuff as much as you do. Because again it's also hers and yours shared trauma with both of yours parents. Then I saw the updates, and knowing she has a history of doing this kind of stuff is not okay. You did right by firing her, cause she could have potentially turned your employees against you. So good job for firing her.
Story 7.
My biological kid is a whistleblower, because she snitched to their school and police that her foster sister was in the possession of narcotics, but all she had was a bag of sweeties. I, 34 feet, have been looking after my foster daughter Maz, 13 feet, for over a year, ever since her parents passed away after ODing. I also have a biological daughter, Lyra, 12 feet. Maz and Lyra mostly get along, although there have been some minor arguments. A few weeks ago, the police came to Lyra's school. Someone had sent an anonymous message to the school claiming that Lyra was in possession of narcotics. After searching through her phone, locker, and bags, they realized that the narcotics in question were actually Skittles, which Lyra had in her bag after the packaging accidentally ripped open. Lyra was terrified of the police and traumatized by the incident. She's a very shy, quiet girl, and she had a panic attack at the thought of being in trouble. While they wouldn't reveal who made the report, Lyra suspected it was Maz, as she was the only one who could have seen the Skittles in her bag. Maz denied this at first, but eventually, under pressure, she admitted it. She said she made a mistake and was scared that Lyra might odd like her parents. I understand that Maz has trauma related to substance, but that's not an excuse. I've made it very clear that she can talk to me about anything, even if it involves Lyra, yet she went to the school instead of coming to me first. Maz said she went to the school because she was afraid I would be biased towards Lyra. She knew full well the possible legal consequences of her actions. Both girls could have been removed from my care. I can't help but feel that her intentions were malicious. Skittles look nothing like pills or any narcotics. She didn't speak to me or Lyra about it, she just went straight to the authorities. So, I decided to ground her, stop her allowance, increase her chores, and take away her electronics for the entire summer. She's still upset, saying I went too far and that I was punishing her for her trauma and for trying to do the right thing. But I feel it's my responsibility to teach her that it's not okay to put our family at risk over a misunderstanding. Did I go too far? Edit. The reason I suspected her actions were malicious is that, the week before, Maz coincidentally started a large argument with Lyra for hanging out with Maz's crush. Lyra eats candy all the time, especially Skittles, and Maz knows they're her favorite. Relevant comments. Comment 1. I'm tempted to say you're in the wrong, but I'm bordering on saying you're not. I think that Maz's reasoning is fairly sound. She's a kid who's deeply traumatized by experiences in her own life. And it's very, very hard for a 13-year-old to conceptualize the repercussions for something like this. If she was acting out of malice, that's one thing, but I think it's pretty hard for anyone online to be able to say if that's the case. That said, I do think your punishment is extreme. I think this is a great opportunity to have more heart-to-hearts with Maz and help her learn how serious this could have been. Is she already in therapy? I assume she must be as a foster child with her history, but if not, she absolutely should be. Additionally, if Maz was exacting out of jealousy or some other feelings around your bio daughter, layering on punishments may just make that separation worse. Do they generally get along well? Are they close or more distant? Maz is going through an immense amount of loss and change, and her feelings toward your daughter are likely very complicated even if they're generally close and friends. I think it would be reasonable to lighten up your punishments while also But I have definitely seen cases where traumatized children have weaponized what they learned from harm they experienced to hurt other people. I have also seen cases where traumatized children act protectively in irrational ways due to their past harmful experiences. It could go either way in my opinion, and you need to tread carefully to figure out which is happening. I don't think this is something that you or any of us can figure out without a therapist involved. Update. After receiving thousands upon thousands of comments, I would like to say that I realized my mistake. I wasn't taking into account the immense amount of trauma that Maz has gone through at such a young age, and the effect it had on her actions. I had a tough, but necessary conversation with both Lyra and Maz. We had a heart-to-heart, so that both girls could hear from each other's perspectives. What had happened was, Maz found out that Lyra had been hanging out with a boy that Lyra knew was Maz's crush. This was also the one-year anniversary of Maz's parents' overdose, and she confessed that her grief coupled with what she interpreted as Lyra's betrayal influenced what happened the following week. Maz maintains that she'd mistaken the candy for substance, but she owned up to the fact that she'd notified the teachers, not only because she was concerned for Lyra's safety, but because she believed that it wasn't fair for Lyra to get away unpunished for having drugs, after everything that had happened to Maz's parents. I know I should have been angry at Maz. But seeing the response to my initial post has opened my eyes. I've been informed that traumatized children can lose their common sense after being exposed to triggers. I assume this applies even more when it occurs around the anniversary of their trauma, and this can lead them to make decisions that may sound outlandish in any other circumstances, decisions such as mistaking candy for drugs. Maz has had bad experiences in foster homes before. Several years before her parents' odd, she was placed in foster care for the first time, before being reunited with her parents. She was in 3 different foster families and, in all of them, her foster parents favored their biological children, and they punished Maz if she told them about their bio children misbehaving. She was terrified that I would do the same, which is why she didn't come to me first. Maz acted out of pain, and I acted out of frustration without even hearing her side of the story. I lifted Maz's punishment. At that point, we still had nearly 3 weeks of summer break left. Lyra has forgiven Maz, and we decided to put this incident behind us. Being a foster parent can be challenging, but I will be doing everything I can to learn from this situation and be a better mother moving forward. Thanks for all your help. Bye.
Story 8.
My boyfriend was invited on my family holiday, but despite us being together for years, he didn't want to be there, and now his family think my family are all loopy. I, 20 feet, and my boyfriend, 22 meters, have been in a relationship for just under 2.5 years. I was under the impression that his family liked me a lot, and that my family liked him a lot as well. We got back from a family vacation just 2 days ago, and now I'm feeling conflicted about it. Basically, my family invited my boyfriend to come on a vacation with us for 3 days out of our home state. It wasn't anything extravagant, just a small trip where we went hiking and sightseeing, etc. My sister, brother, boyfriend, and I drove separately from my mom, dad, and grandparents. While we were driving, my boyfriend asked my siblings if they would be uncomfortable if their significant others invited them on a trip like this. My brother said that if he had only been with someone for a short time, then yes, but given our circumstances, no. Since I was driving, I just stayed quiet. I'll be honest, it hurt my feelings a lot, but I didn't feel like it was that big of a deal. I'm quite an overthinker. When we got to the hotel where we were staying, my boyfriend just looked like he didn't want to be there. So, I asked him if he was having fun, to which he said, "No, I really just don't want to be here." I was honestly taken aback because I didn't really know what to say. I started to tear up and just walked away. The rest of that trip was just silence between us and awkward conversations between him, my dad, and my mom, as they didn't realize anything was wrong. I didn't say anything to anyone because I didn't want to ruin the mood or cut the trip short. But when we got back home, I tried talking to him about it. He said that he was just shocked he got invited to something like this, and that his parents also thought it was weird. I just kind of stared at him for a second because I literally didn't understand what was so weird about it. I said if he didn't want to go or felt uncomfortable with going, he didn't have to, and he just kind of shrugged. I asked him to leave my house and told him we would talk later because I was so shocked and hurt that he and his family would call me and my family weird for inviting him on a small trip. I'm super close with his family, and it's not like he doesn't know any of mine. Is it really that weird to invite my boyfriend of 2.5 years on a small vacation? What do you think? Relevant comments. First comment: your boyfriend and his family sound weird. You and your family sound fun, inclusive, and thoughtful. Second comment: when my first husband and I were dating, he passed away after 8 years of us being married. I went on every trip his family took. Beach trips 10 hours away, etc. I went with his mom and him. I went with his sister and Bill. We were madly in love and everybody knew we'd be married. There was no keeping us apart from the minute we met. Where one of us was, the other was there. His family was my family and mine was his. I think the boyfriend and his family are strange here. I don't see the problem, and if he thought it was weird, why did he go? Update 1. Hi all, I appreciate everyone taking the time to respond to me and let me know that I'm not crazy about this. For the update, I'm going to try to answer as many questions as possible. I haven't had a full conversation with my boyfriend yet. We spoke briefly last night after I made my post about how he severely hurt my feelings with what he said, and he apologized, but it honestly just felt forced. We haven't spoken any more about it since. For those asking about our cultural background, we don't have any kind of ethnic background, and neither of our families are religious. We've spent the night at each other's houses, and to my knowledge, he wasn't opposed to that at all. For those of you asking if he was uncomfortable with a low-cost vacation, I have no idea. His family doesn't often take vacations, but it's not because they can't afford it, I just don't think they want to. As for our communication skills, this has been an issue for the majority of our relationship. I've tried explaining to him that we can solve problems sooner if he's open and honest, but sometimes he just doesn't speak his mind until it's too late. Lastly, he is very close with his family, but he's always worried that my family doesn't like him. It truly felt like a slap in the face when he didn't want to be there, as I thought this was a clear way for my family to show they liked him. For those wondering, I do want to save this relationship if possible. I love my boyfriend and we've been through a lot together, so I don't want to let go of him. Before this, everything was fine, and I'm not sure what went wrong here. I'll provide another update when we actually sit down and talk, but I wanted to answer some questions while I'm here. Once again, thank you to everyone. Relevant comment. This may seem an odd question, but does he call you his girlfriend and introduce you that way to others? Have you discussed what your relationship looks like down the road and next steps? His response is so odd. I'm just wondering if it's possible you two are viewing the relationship differently. Update 2. Hey everyone, I just finished talking with my boyfriend, and I have a lot to say. This will most likely be my last update unless something huge happens, mostly because I've come to the conclusion that this has completely opened my eyes. To start, I saw many comments referencing a post I made a year ago. I'm not going to go too far into it because that post was much more dramatic and, quite frankly, embarrassing for me. Yes, it was about the same boyfriend, and yes, it was about the same communication issues. I'll admit I have attachment issues, which doesn't help my situation. While I'm close with my family, I don't really talk to them about my relationship issues because they usually don't take them seriously. That's just their way of lightening the mood, I guess. Aside from my family, I don't have a very strong support system, especially when it comes to relationships. For those who told me to have more self-respect, thank you for that, but please be kind, you never know what someone is going through. Quite frankly, I don't have a lot of self-respect, but that's my own issue, and I'm not going to talk about it any further. Now, for the update, I spoke to my boyfriend, and it went terribly. I told him once again that it hurt my feelings when he made those comments during the trip and to my brother. He said it wasn't as serious as I thought it was, and that I was dragging this out for no reason. That was really eye-opening for me. Considering we've only talked about it for maybe 30 minutes last night and 5 minutes the day we got home, I don't think I'm dragging it out, but okay. I told him that he made me feel small. He said he was just shocked to be invited and that it made him feel like part of the family. I asked him why he would say he didn't want to be there and why he asked my siblings that question if he was feeling happy and included. He admitted he messed up and said some dumb things. He also told me that he wasn't worried about it and hoped I'd get over it soon. Well, I will, but not with him by my side. A lot of people told me that posting online was a bad idea because all I'd hear was you need to leave him, or you should have just communicated with him. However, I feel like if I had this conversation without the support of hundreds of people telling me I wasn't crazy or reading the situation wrong, I wouldn't have made the decision to end things. I'm grateful to everyone who took the time to post, and you can call me dumb for not ending this relationship when I first realized I was unhappy. But now, it's time for me to heal and move on because 500 strangers told me I deserve better, and I'm going to listen this time. Relevant comment. A piece of advice to everyone out there in the ether: someone who casually disregards your feelings and blows you off when you try to bring up something important to you, even if they don't think it's a big deal, is not a good partner. I'm not saying you need to break up with this person immediately, but you should understand that they are a bad partner who cares minimally about you and proceed accordingly. Update 3. Hi all, I know I said my last post would be my last update unless something big happened, but after reading and responding to the comments, I found myself becoming bitter and emotional over the situation. This is more of a getting it off my chest post, or maybe me asking how I can repair the relationship I have with myself. When I read your comments, my heart aches with how foolish I was for spending over 2 years with someone who didn't value me. Now, I'm struggling with the fact that I actually miss him, or at least miss who I thought he was. I won't go back, but I can't help feeling like I could have saved the relationship if I had tried harder. I know that's ignorant and naive, but the breakup just happened yesterday, and now I'm feeling the aftermath. I'm not sure why these feelings are coming to me now, as I don't think I'm much lonelier outside the relationship than I was inside of it. I just wish I had more things or people to surround myself with. I thought about starting to go to the gym, hopefully to meet new people and get myself into a routine to fill up my time. Maybe I'll do some shopping therapy too. I feel like I need a couple of weeks of pampering myself before I'll feel okay enough to move on with my life. Everyone deserves at least a week to feel disappointed and upset about how their life is going right now, right? Anyway, thanks for listening to my rant. This is seriously my last post, and I'm going to start focusing on myself now rather than dwelling on the situation. Thanks again. P.S. For those wondering how my boyfriend responded to the breakup, I actually thought he would last 2 days without trying to guilt-trip me with pictures and memories of us, but just 5 minutes ago, he called and tried to get me to realize my mistake. Hopefully, he gets over it soon because he's kind of dragging it out. Lol. For those who are going to tell me to block him, I will, after I return his stuff. Then I'll block him for good. Relevant comments. First comment. Send him a text message telling him to pick up his things on X day between times CY. Put his stuff on your porch or in your apartment hallway. Have a friend or two with you so he can't try anything. If his things are not picked up, you drop them off at Goodwill. If he refuses to get his things, it will qualify as abandonment of his property. Second comment. Porch or front lawn drops can get you in trouble, but having a friend-run buffer is smart. Specifically, stack his crap by the front door, but inside so he can't go picking and choosing what he wants to take. Black garbage bags are a little insulting, but screw buying moving boxes for an ex.
Story 9.
My fiancé suddenly changed and started spewing out nonsense about his views on women, and I don't think I can be with this misogynistic patriarchist anymore. My 28 feet fiancé, 34 meters, and I used to have a great relationship, but over the past year, his political views have become a problem. I mostly kept quiet about it, but it all came to a head when he accused a woman at his job of lying about an incident where she was harmed. I pointed out that whenever a woman accuses a man of inappropriate behavior, he questions it and claims she's lying. He justified this by saying it's foolish to believe such accusations without proof. I then pointed out that he has no proof she's lying either, yet he's still accusing her. He often sends me articles about women, usually teachers, behaving inappropriately toward boys. I mentioned that he never questions whether the boys are lying or asks for proof in those cases. He got very upset and kept repeating that I was trivializing inappropriate behavior toward men. I don't feel I was. I just thought I was pointing out the hypocrisy. He denied being biased against female accusers. I reminded him that when the allegations against Diddy first surfaced, he said feminists were just trying to ruin a successful man's life. Unsurprisingly, he never mentioned the man who accused Diddy of inappropriate behavior. He defended Diddy until the video of him physically hurting Cassie was leaked. Even then, he said, "We don't know the whole story." The final straw came when he was telling me, again, how women are actually worse than men because we're sneaky and conniving, adding, "At least men will mess you over to your face." He kept insisting that women are far worse than men, and I just lost it. I said that nowhere on earth, now or ever in recorded history, have women had a higher violent crime rate than men. I pointed out that men harm each other more than they harm women, so they pose a bigger danger to themselves than any woman being sneaky. I also said blaming women for unfair legislation, like conscription, doesn't make sense when men make up the majority of the US government, and most, if not all, other governments. He was furious. He didn't argue with me, exactly, he just told me I was brainwashed by the feminist agenda and that feminism convinced me I was special. I still don't know where that came from, it wasn't relevant to anything. I was very upset and responded, "Well, maybe patriarchy lied to you about this relationship being special." I threw my ring on the table, left the house, and haven't spoken to him since. Today, he sent me a long text saying I belittled him with that comment and that I would be a good wife if I could just stop needing to be right all the time. I haven't responded and am conflicted about whether I will. I feel bad about throwing the ring and about hurting his feelings by implying our relationship wasn't special. But, honestly, I'm seriously questioning if I really want to marry him. He's always been argumentative, not just with me, but with everyone. Usually, I ignore it, but his hypocrisy was just so blatant this time. I know I shouldn't have taken the bait, and I don't think men are generally bad. I was just speaking out of anger. I don't consider myself super political. I'm not even sure if I identify as a feminist. But he has a new complaint about women every day at this point, and it's exhausting. I don't know when he became this way, but it sucks. There are still things I love about him, but I'm not sure I can forgive the things he's been saying. Even though I had an intense outburst, I recognize I am responsible for letting his constant woman bashing slide for so long in an effort to keep the peace. I blew up when I could have spoken up sooner. Maybe if I'd addressed it early on, things might have been different. I don't know what to do. What do you suggest? Update. Hi again. I'm surprised and overwhelmed by the response my post got. After I left, I went to a hotel. He kept contacting me, asking when I was coming home. I told him I needed time to think and turned off my phone. When I turned it back on, I saw his photo on my lock screen, which led me to call him, for reasons that will make sense later. He said he wanted to talk face to face, and I agreed, so I went home. He apologized for implying that I'm not special. I apologized for implying our relationship wasn't special. We've been together for 12 years, so saying that was hurtful and untrue. Before anyone compares the harshness of our statements, neither of us is justified by the other's wrongs. Disclaimer, this post isn't about the validity or ethics of gender roles. It's strictly an account of what happened, without any wider social commentary. We discuss what we wanted for the future. He wants a traditional marriage and laid out his expectations. I would quit my job, and we'd start trying for a baby right after the wedding. I'd be a stay-at-home mom until the kids were old enough for primary school, and we'd raise them as Christians. He wants to protect and provide for our family, and I would be submissive. He assured me I could still disagree and have a say, but he wants the final decision in most matters. He asked if I understood what he wanted, and I said yes. When he asked if I still wanted to get married, I told him I didn't. He has the right to change his mind, but it's not the arrangement we agreed to when he proposed. This post is already long, so I won't go into detail about how he got into this gender essentialism or why I don't want the type of relationship he's asking for. Suffice it to say, we're no longer compatible. He suggested a trial run of his preferred setup so I could see it's for the best. I told him we had a successful trial run of not doing that for 10 years, until he decided to change things a few years ago. He was unfazed by this. Now, about the lock screen, he has a small snaggle tooth toward the back that he's always been shy about, so he never fully smiles in public. That photo is one of the few where he's showing his real smile, and it's beautiful. Seeing that picture used to make me so happy. But when I saw it this morning, I just felt sad. It sounds dramatic, but it feels like the man I loved has been replaced by some red-pilled pod person. When he asked if I still loved him, I told him I'd always love him, but I'm not in love with him anymore. I know many people had strong reactions to the things he said, and he crossed the line several times, but this is still incredibly hard for me. He's the only man I've ever been with and my best friend. I'm relieved it's over, but I'm still sad about how it ended. I accept that he's changed, but it's hard not to think about what could have been.